While I'm keeping an eye on every player, Wiser controls every room.
Rob, back to Premiership action this weekend. Let's just have a quick reflect on Montpellier last weekend. Although disappointed with the end result, you're in the last 16 and something really exciting to look forward to with Munster.
Yeah, it was an odd game in a lot of ways. I think I'm not, if I'm honest with you, and I know this might sound a bit strange in any kind of high performance sport. I do think probably knowing that we were through before the game kicked off and the scenarios around things, I don't think it necessarily brought the best out of us in that opening period, and it probably just took a little bit of that edge off our performance that ultimately paid the price in the end, because we did get ourselves in a little bit of a hole. We then dug ourselves out of that fantastically well, and I actually felt we were kind of on that edge of breaking them a little bit. We had a long period of possession. We got ourselves very much in the game, in the lead in parts of the second half, and it did feel like we had a long period of phase play, which is what we were really hunting to try to get, to create that kind of fatigue and the issues that we felt that would create for Montpellier. And I thought we just about got there, and then the interception kind of killed that, and from then it became that battle that we didn't really overcome, and we probably had a relatively young team on the field at that stage, and we just didn't quite hold it together in that remaining period. But I did feel there was a lot of good in the game. Our physical stats held up there really well. We just made a few too many mistakes, and their first try is a relatively soft try and a counter attack that we would normally have snuffed out pretty quickly. That's been a real strength of ours, and some of that was just a little bit of focus that would have been a bit sharper, I think, if absolutely it was flat out necessary to win that game. The flip side is actually maybe potentially created a more exciting pathway for us. Playing Munster home and away is I'm not saying it's a new experience, because we played Munster before, but it's different to playing a Premiership team home and away. We played Bristol just up the road. We play them quite a lot now. So playing Munster home and away, I think, is a good experience for the players. It's a good experience for the club as a whole. And knocking an Irish team out in this stage of the competition would be another kind of step forward for us, and another thing for us to acknowledge in the kind of history where the club goes in the Heineken Cup. That then potentially sets up another, a really exciting quarter-final. So with the potential of, depending on other results, even being at home. So there are things that are exciting there for us, but we kind of, I'm quite okay with how we've gone through the Heineken Cup, but we do have to kind of shelve that now and move into what's a new period through the Six Nations, because this is going to be challenging for us in a different way. The Heineken Cup was challenging because you play top teams and you have to collect a certain amount of points. Now it's challenging because we're going through the Six Nations, and we've actually, in all the right way, managed to get quite a lot of players away from the club and in the Six Nations squad. And so that now aligns a different group of players to have to come in and stay trying to keep us, as I say, on that upward performance curve that it feels like we're on at the moment.
Obviously the Premiership now, as you say, you've talked about it, it's going to be a big few weeks now. Players away, chances for others though, huge opportunities.
Yeah, and we're kind of refocusing ourselves a little bit. We haven't sat down all this week and talked about points and league position and all the kind of things that could just get the guys in the wrong frame of mind for where we are. The reality is, for some of these guys, it's about them still almost learning to be Exeter Chiefs still, because they've had very little time in an Exeter Chiefs shirt, and using every game as that maximum exposure to being an Exeter Chief and being a player that can play Premiership rugby at a high level. So we've really only focused on making sure that we are trying to put the game on the field that we're comfortable with. And I used to talk about this a lot in our first 4 or 5 years of the Premiership, making sure that whatever happens on the Saturday or the Sunday, whatever the game is, we are a better team for the performance, so that we don't come away and just look at each other and go, that was disappointing. We look at each other and go, right, we're either pleased or disappointed with the result, but we're in a better place now because we feel like we're a better team. And then we train better on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we're a slightly better team for the next weekend. And that's the kind of performance curve I want to get us back on, because I think we've probably slipped off that in the last 6 to 12 months, regardless of whatever team we put on the pitch. We probably haven't always improved as a team after every game. And I really want to make sure that becomes our drive and focus, that regardless of results, regardless of anything else that happens, regardless of the team we have to pick, we are a better group for what has happened in that week, in that 7 days.
You've talked throughout the season that at the start of the season you were missing players. You're going to be missing players now, but do you feel you're in a different position now with the group of players that you've got available to What was that? Those first few weeks of the season, because it was a tough period then, wasn't it?
Weirdly, no, we're probably in a slightly worse position when you actually look at the numbers, because obviously Chris Chisholm was going to be away with Wales, but obviously it's come down with COVID. We picked up an injury to Sean Lonsdale at the weekend. Rushi Tamur picked up an injury in training last weekend, so we're kind of getting clipped and knocked about in the back five of the scrum again, as well as players being away. But that is a bit the nature of the beast. But as you say, it does create almost opportunities for someone like David Jenkins or Richard Capstick to come into that back five, and probably, as long as they show that, what I'm talking about, that week on week performance, they could probably have a block now where they could come out of this with a really good block of 6 or 7 games of really good experience that will really set them up and us up for their careers in the future. And that's what I want to see. And it's the same with our young front row. They might get a block of games now that they probably weren't quite expecting, but they're there now, they're right in front of them. They need to make the most of them, because they could be the guys who drive the future success of this club. And that's what I want to see. I want to see us as a group of guys grabbing opportunities and taking individual opportunities as well as collective opportunities.
With Richard Capstick, he's done that in the past. He's shown that he can string a load of games together. Obviously, that's an opportunity now for, like you say, the others now to follow that mould almost.
Well, it's for both sides. It's for the young players to kind of step up and show where they want to go, and it's for our senior players to show what good leaders they can be and what contributors they can be to our overall performance. I think it's quite an interesting challenge for us, and one that we're only going to talk about bringing the best out of us. We've spoken about it a lot this week. We've simplified what our aims and our ambitions are going to be, and it's going to be that we are going to throw everything into games of rugby, and we're going to get out on the training field on a Monday and get better. And I think that's kind of the DNA we've had in us for all the time I can remember being here as a coach. That's always been the main driving factor, and it's one we really want to return to just talking about on a more regular basis, because I think it simplifies things for everybody. The whole staff, everybody, we don't feel like we're hunting just for league points to try and get us at the top of the table, because that will last for a while. And that pressure can bring the best out of some guys, and it can bring the worst out of other guys. But over a period of time, when you're trying to introduce young players, it can create a scenario that means they never get a block of games. You never feel comfortable taking a bit of pain as they develop. Well, we're going to have to be prepared to take that now for a little while, because there's going to be quite a lot of them involved. And so the key thing is that they keep getting better. There's not a lot of point as creating a game environment that they're floundering in. We've got to push on and get better, and that revolves around how we train as a group, how we coach as a group of coaches, and how we perform on Saturdays. It's going to be the whole picture.
As for London Irish, they came here in the season. That was probably one of the performances that probably irks a little with you, that we didn't quite turn up on that day, did we? Yeah,
we had a pretty decent team on the pitch that day, and for whatever reason, we put in a pretty tired looking, lack of physicality performance. That said, I think London Irish came here and wanted to change the history of our previous results, had a point to prove, and I remember saying before the game I was a little concerned, because I felt they were playing very well, were very comfortable, looked very settled as a team, knew what they wanted to do, and they proved that on the day. And we've got to change that narrative at the weekend, and it's not easy, because what are they? They're just behind us. They're winning games. They've drawn a lot of games. They are a team that's, I think most people consider being up at a top 4 team. So it's going to be, in a way, this is kind of some of the challenges we want. We probably go there not as favourites. Well, that's not been the case when we played London Irish for a few years now, and I'm kind of quite relishing a bit of an underdog status a few times. It's quite a refreshing position to be in, and we've got to make the most of that.